Elian squeezed her hand. The cold info crystal, hidden in his palm, was hotter than his own pulse. "They are looking for us everywhere," he whispered, scanning the shimmering market below them. "Yes," Kaelyn replied, her voice low like the rustle of the Ketar desert grasses. "But we are together, and they are looking for a ghost, not us." As the contraband shuttle, the Void Swimmer, roared away from the docks of the Steel Spire, leaving behind the glittering but soulless towers of the megalopolis, Elian knew their journey and their danger had only just begun. Their destination, the Echo Beacon, lay in unmapped hyperspace, and reaching it was equivalent to leaping into the abyss. The Void Swimmer slipped through the void between systems, its cloaking fields pushed to their limit. They spent 2 days in constant vigilance, their tension mounting, their conversations about the next move hushed and quick. Elian, an archaeologist linguist from Earth, rejected by the Consulate for Heretical Research, stood at the viewport. Unfamiliar constellations drifted by, cold and indifferent. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Kaelyn's voice came from behind him. She was Ketar. Her copper-colored skin faintly reflected the instrument lights, and her eyes, with vertical pupils adapted to dim light, glowed amber. Her body, built for speed and stealth, was flexible as a steel vine. She wrapped her arms around his waist, pressing against his back. The stars looked different from every angle, yet they are always the same stars. Elian covered her hands with his. "Where I grew up, light pollution blocked most of the night sky. I never saw stars like this until I left home." "That's a tragedy," Kaelyn said, an unusual softness creeping into her normally reserved voice. "Ketar children are taught to navigate by starlight before they learn to read the lunar runes." Their quiet moment was interrupted by the dry, uncompromising voice of Zaria, the pilot over the ship's comm. "Approaching the Echo Beacon. Prepare for deceleration. I hope your ancient key works, Elian, because I'm not keen on orbiting this rusty tin camp for long." Elian and Kaelyn made their way to the cockpit, where Zaria, a woman with a weather-beaten face and a silver prosthesis instead of a left eye, piloted the vessel with practiced, almost automatic precision. Through the forward viewport, a colossal structure came into view. It was not a station, but rather a fragment, constructed from dark gray, porous material, riddled with cracks and antennas that had long ceased to function. It resembled the skeleton of a sea monster cast out into space. Its surface was etched with intricate patterns, very similar to those on his info crystal. "What is this place?" Elian asked, settling into the co-pilot's seat. "One of the oldest known objects in charted space," Zaria cut in. "It predates both our civilizations. The Precursors built it as a relay for long-distance hyperspace jumps, a beacon. It's essentially a cosmic roadmap, and someone maintains it," Kaelyn asked, leaning against the back of Elian's seat. Zaria's expression grew complex and hard. "Neros, the Keeper. He is a unique, ancient AI who remained here. An old ally of mine, though unpredictable. He is the only reason the Consulate hasn't razed this place, declaring it a dangerous religious site." The Void Swimmer approached a docking bay, a massive rectangular breach in the beacon's hull that opened like a wound. As they settled onto the landing pad, Elian noticed there were no other ships present besides theirs. "Not exactly a popular tourist destination," he remarked. "Keeper Neros is selective about his visitors," Zaria said, powering down the engines. "And he doesn't post his schedule on the Galactic info channel." They disembarked into an atmosphere that smelled of ozone, machine oil, and something indefinably ancient, like centuries of dust. The docking bay was illuminated by soft greenish lights that seemed to track their every movement. "The station is quasi-sentient," Kaelyn explained, noticing Elian's curious glance at the tracking lights. "It is aware of us. It is Neros's perimeter defense." A door slid open at the far end of the bay, revealing a corridor that curved gently, following the massive beacon's shape. They walked in silence, their footsteps echoing strangely, as if the sound were being analyzed and cataloged by the structure itself. The corridor opened into a vast, spherical chamber. The The walls, floor, and ceiling were made of the same dark, porous material, but here it was transparent in places, offering dizzying views of the starfield. At the center stood a raised platform with a massive control panel, resembling an altar. Beside it stood a figure unlike any robot or alien Elian had ever encountered. The being was tall, its form composed of vibrating dark glass fibers and light. It had no permanent face. Instead of features, complex geometric patterns and equations constantly pulsed on the smooth surface of its head. Zarya of the near sector. The voice resonated, not through the air but directly in Elian's mind. Many cycles have passed. I sense the aura of the consulate on your vessel. You bring interesting companions, a daughter of the Steppes Hunters and a son of the Digital Dawn era. You seek the knowledge held by Professor Xander. You are his heir. Elian felt a chill at the mention of his late mentor's name. You knew him. I know all who seek to understand the hyperspatial schematics, Neros replied. Your mentor was here once, seeking the key that others wished to keep secret. The key to the holographic Akasha Sphere. The entity glided smoothly closer. One of its 4 hands, woven from light, extended toward the info crystal in Elian's palm. May I? Elian did not hesitate, holding out his hand. Neros's touch was neither warm nor cold, but sent a sensation up his arm akin to a high-frequency electrical discharge. The key is intact, Neros observed, but its crucial data byte, the critical calibration byte, is beginning to rewrite your genetic structure, human. It is adjusting your neural pattern to accommodate the information. What does that mean? Elian asked, alarmed. It means the crystal has chosen you, just as it once chose Xander. You are the living repository of its main secret. Your thoughts will become the cipher. Do you seek the Akasha Sphere? We do, Zarya confirmed. The consulate's sensors pursue us. They must not obtain this artifact. They will turn it into a weapon capable of closing any hyperspace corridor at their will. Neros's glass skin pulsed with dark, complex patterns. The sensors consider themselves the rightful inheritors of precursor knowledge. They are mistaken. Their understanding is incomplete. They see the sphere merely as a lever of power. Akasha is the blueprint of creation, not a military toy. Will you help us? Kaelyn asked, watching the Keeper's movements tensely. Information has a price, Neros replied, especially information that could reshape the balance of power in this sector. And you cannot simply enter the beacon's network at the risk of infecting me with consulate tracking code. Elian stepped forward. Name your price. A test, Neros said simply, of worthiness of understanding. The Akasha Sphere responds not only to genetics or the found crystal. It responds to character. I must know if you possess what Xander had. And what was that? Elian asked. Integrity. True, human integrity. The word resonated strangely in Elian's mind, as if translated from some ancient code. The being gestured to a doorway that hadn't been visible moments before. Rest tonight. Prepare yourselves. The test begins at the rising of the nearest star. Later, in their assigned quarters, a surprisingly comfortable suite with curved walls that projected the surrounding starfield. Elian paced restlessly. What kind of test is this going to be, he wondered aloud. Kaelyn, seated cross-legged on the bed, watched him with unusual concern. She was dressed in a sleek tactical suit, but her usual professional detachment had left her. My elders say that the methods of keepers, like Neros, are unorthodox but fair. They do not set impossible tasks, she murmured. Elian sat beside her, taking her hands in his. Her copper skin was a few degrees cooler than his own, but radiated a subtle, almost imperceptible electrical charge that always calmed him. I'm not worried about fairness. I'm worried about failing. Letting down Zarya, letting down Xander's legacy, and he trailed off. And me, Kaelyn finished. Her fingers tightened around his. You won't fail. I've seen your heart, Elian. It is complex, and it holds many shadows, but it holds to the truth. Her faith in him was both touching and terrifying. In the few days since their escape, Their connection had deepened beyond the initial, sharp physical attraction. In quiet moments, between planning and evading pursuit, they had shared fragments of their past lives. His alienation from the scientific world, her harsh, survival-filled life on the Kitar steppes. They were building something that felt increasingly like love. "Come here," she said softly, pulling him closer. Her lips found his in a kiss that started gentle but quickly intensified. The unique chemistry between their species still surprised Elian. The slight, constant tingle where their skin met, and the way her body temperature rose to match his when they were intimate. Later, lying in each other's arms, Elian felt a peace that defied their dangerous circumstances. "On Kitar," Kaelyn murmured against his chest. "We believe that souls meant to find each other will do so across any distance, against any odds. Is that what happened with us?" "I want to believe that," Elian said, stroking her short, soft hair. "The universe has patterns we can't always see, but sometimes we feel them. Your crystal, my path. We both ran only to find each other." Elian thought of the info crystal, of the strange path that had led him from dusty archives to this moment, lying among the stars with an extraordinary woman from another world. "Whatever test Neros has planned for tomorrow," he said, "we'll face it together." Kaelyn smiled, her amber eyes reflecting the starlight streaming through the wall screen. "Together," she agreed. Outside their window, a distant sun began its slow rise above the curve of a nearby gas giant, marking the approach of their moment. Elian woke to the sensation of Kaelyn stirring beside him. The starfield visible through the walls had shifted, indicating the passage of several hours. He felt rested, centered, ready for whatever test Neros had planned. "Morning," he murmured, pressing a kiss to her shoulder. Her skin glowed faintly in response to his touch, a reaction he found endlessly fascinating. "Is it morning in space?" she asked with a sleepy smile. "Or just another moment in the endless dark? Philosophical before caffeine activation. You Kitar are impressive." Elian sat up, stretching. "I should get ready." Neros said the test would begin at the rising of the nearest star. Kaelyn rose gracefully. "What do you think he will ask of you?" "No idea," Elian replied. "But I'm not afraid." He realized with some surprise that it was true. Whatever it was, he would face it. They found Zaria in the beacon's central chamber, engaged in quiet conversation with Neros. Both turned as Elian and Kaelyn entered. "The human is punctual," Neros observed, its glassy skin pulsing with patterns that seemed to convey approval. "A promising start." "I'm ready," Elian said, squaring his shoulders. Neros glided toward him. "Are you?" "We shall see." One of its four light hands gestured toward the control panel. "Place your crystal upon the interface." Elian approached the console, a smooth, dark surface with subtle indentations that seemed to shift and realign as he watched. He slipped the info crystal from its chain and placed it in a circular depression that hadn't been there moments before. The crystal began to glow, its blue core pulsing with increasing intensity. The walls of the chamber responded, illuminating with star charts that spun and realigned themselves in dizzying patterns. "The coordinates are revealing themselves," Neros said. "The location of the Akasha Sphere will soon be known." Suddenly, a deafening alarm cut through the chamber, and red emergency lights pulsed along the walls. "We are breached," Neros announced, its voice resonating with unexpected emotion, something akin to fury. "Consulate sensors. They have found us." "How?" Zaria demanded. "We were careful." Neros's form solidified, becoming more material and threatening. "Betrayal. There is a tracker among us. Not on the ship. Not on you, human." Its faceless head turned toward Kaelyn, who stepped back in shock. "Not her," Neros clarified. "The crystal itself." The sensors attuned their sensors to its unique energy signature. "They waited for you to activate it." Elian lunged for the crystal, snatching it from the console. "We need to get back to the ship." "Too late," Neros said. "They have already docked. Multiple vessels. This station's defenses are ancient. They will not hold against modern consulate weaponry for long." The chamber doors slammed shut, sealing them in. The star charts continued to swirl on the walls, faster now, as if the system were working frantically to complete its calculations before interruption. "What do we do?" Kaelyn asked, moving to Elian's side, her hands gripping the handles of her concealed blades. Nero's form pulsed with light. "This is your test, Elian. Not some contrived challenge I might have designed, but a true test of character and decision. The sensors come for the knowledge you seek. What will you do with it?" Elian stared at the crystal in his palm, then at the frantic calculations still processing on the walls. "I don't understand. What choice do I have?" "The location of the Akasha Sphere is being revealed," Neros explained. "In moments, you will possess knowledge that could reshape the power structures of this galaxy. The sensors will torture and kill to extract it from you. You could surrender it to save yourselves. You could destroy the crystal to keep the sphere from them." A tremendous boom shook the station, the sound of breaching charges against the outer doors. "Or," Neros continued, "you could do what Xander did. Accept the burden of this knowledge, knowing it may cost you everything you hold dear." Elian looked at Kaelyn, then at Zaria. Both women stood tall, unafraid, despite the danger closing in around them. "What did my mentor choose?" Elian asked. "He chose humanity," Neros replied. "He chose to protect what mattered most. The potential, not the power." Another explosion rocked the station. Closer this time, the doors to the chamber buckled slightly. "They're almost through," Zaria warned. The star chart suddenly froze. A single point of light pulsed at the intersection of 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. "The coordinates have been found. Decide," Elian, Neros urged. "The knowledge is yours. What will you do with it?" Elian closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the crystal in his hand. In that moment, he understood what his mentor had faced, the impossible choice between knowledge and safety, between duty and love. When he opened his eyes, his decision was made. "I choose both," he said firmly. "I won't surrender the coordinates, and I won't destroy them. But I won't let the consulate take them either." He turned to Neros. "This station, it's connected to the sphere somehow, isn't it? That's why the crystal works with your systems." "Yes," Neros confirmed. "The Echo, Beacon, and the Akasha Sphere are nodes in a network created by the Precursors. Both respond to the activation byte in your crystal. Then there's another way." Elian placed the crystal back on his finger and approached the console. "The crystal is transferring its data to me. What if I could transfer the coordinates directly to the sphere itself? Send a signal that would activate it remotely." Neros' form pulsed with surprise. "That is not a solution I had considered. The sphere is quasi-sentient like the beacon. It could indeed be awakened from afar. But the consequences will be better than letting the sensors get their hands on it," Elian finished. He placed his hand on the console. "Tell me how." The chamber doors began to glow red as cutting tools worked at their seams. They had minutes, perhaps less. "It would require a direct neural interface," Neros warned. "The process would be painful, possibly dangerous. And the keytar must be near you to stabilize the transmission. Your fields, your electrical charge, it is unique." "Do it," Elian said without hesitation. Kaelyn grabbed his arm. "Elian, no. We don't know what that could do to you." He turned to her, cupping her face with his free hand. "Trust me, this is what Xander would have done. He protected what mattered most. The potential, not the power." Their eyes locked, and a universe of unspoken feelings passed between them. Finally, Kaelyn nodded, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "I trust you. I am your anchor." Neros moved swiftly, positioning 2 of its hands on either side of Elian's head. Kaelyn pressed against his back, her hands gripping his shoulders. "Open your mind to the network, human. Let the knowledge flow through you, not just to you. Kaelyn, you must focus your biological energy. Be the shield." Elian closed his eyes as Neros' touch sent jolts of energy through his skull. The pain was immediate and intense. Like lightning trapped inside his brain, seeking escape, he gritted his teeth, refusing to cry out. Through the agony, he became aware of something vast and ancient stirring to awareness in the distance. The Akasha Sphere was responding to his call across the void of space. He could sense its curiosity, its recognition of Xander's genetic code, its willingness to accept his intent. As the chamber doors finally gave way with a screech of tortured metal, Elian opened his eyes. They now glowed with the same blue light as the crystal on his hand. "It's done," he said, his voice overlaid with harmonics that were not entirely human. "The sphere is awake." The first consulate sensors poured into the chamber, weapons raised, only to freeze in confusion as the star charts on the walls suddenly vanished, replaced by a single pulsing symbol that seemed to burn itself into the mind of every observer. "What have you done?" demanded the lead sensor, his voice distorted by a digital filter. Elian stood tall, the crystal on his hand blazing with power. "I made your quest pointless. The sphere is no longer dormant, waiting to be found. It's active, and it has chosen its conduit. Me." The sensors hissed in fury, but before they could attack, the entire station shuddered violently. Nero's form expanded, filling the chamber with swirling light. "The network is realigning." The echo beacon responds to the sphere's awakening. "We must depart now." Zaria grabbed Kaelyn's hand. "The ship. We need to reach the void swimmer." As chaos erupted around them, sensors scrambling to retreat, the station's structure groaning as ancient systems reactivated, Elian felt a strange calm. Whatever happened next, he had made the right choice. He honored his mentor's dying wish while forging his own path forward. With Kaelyn at his side, he ran toward an uncertain future, but one they would face together. The void swimmer burst from the Echo Beacon's docking bay as the ancient station began to fold in on itself, not collapsing, but transforming, rearranging its structure like a massive puzzle, seeking a new configuration. Behind them, the sensor ships scattered in disarray, some caught in the station's metamorphosis. Elian sat in the co-pilot's seat, his mind still reeling from the neural interface. The crystal pulsed on his finger, no longer a separate object, but seemingly an extension of himself. Through it, he could sense the Akasha Sphere calling to him across the vastness of space. "Are you all right?" Kaelyn asked, her hand gentle on his shoulder. "Better than all right," Elian replied, surprised to find it true. "I can feel it, Kaelyn. The sphere, it's alive in a way I can't explain. And it's happy." Zaria, piloting with intense focus, glanced at him. "Happy? It has been waiting for decades, maybe centuries, to fulfill its purpose." "Xander knew it," Elian said softly. Elian opened his eyes. "I know where we need to go." He leaned forward, inputting coordinates into the navigation system. As he did, Zaria gasped. That's in Ketar space, near your family's ancient lands, Kaelyn. That can't be a coincidence." "No," Kaelyn agreed, her voice thick with emotion. "My ancestors always spoke of a great stone of sight sleeping beneath the lunar lake. They called it a fairy tale." As the void swimmer changed course, accelerating toward the new coordinates, Zaria reached inside her tunic and withdrew a chain. Hanging from it was a ring identical to Elian's crystal, but with a core that glowed with a softer, rose-colored light. "He left this with me," she said, removing the chain and holding the ring in her palm. "The night before he disappeared, Xander said it was a promise that somehow, someday, we would be together again." Elian stared at the second ring in shock. "All this time, you had its twin?" "I never understood its true significance," Zaria admitted. "I thought it merely a token of his affection. But now..." The ring in her hand began to pulse in perfect synchronization with Elian's crystal. The navigation console beeped, confirming their course toward Ketar space. Nero said the sphere responds to specific genetic signatures, Kaelyn said thoughtfully. "What if it recognizes not just Xander's code, but the specific combination of human and Ketar energy patterns? The union your parents planned, but never achieved." Elian looked at his crystal, then at Zaria's ring, a bridge between worlds. 3 days later, the void swimmer entered Ketar space. Their approach hadn't gone unnoticed. A small fleet of sensor ships pursued them, joined by other vessels Elian didn't recognize. "The sensors have called in allies," Zarya said grimly. Former military commanders, mercenaries, anyone who believes the sphere should be controlled or destroyed. How long until we reach the coordinates? Elian asked. 20 minutes, but they'll intercept us before then. Elian felt the crystal pulse more urgently now. An idea formed in his mind. Dangerous, but possibly their only option. I need to establish a stronger connection with the sphere, he said. If it's truly awakened, maybe it can help us. Kaelyn's eyes widened. The neural interface nearly overwhelmed you last time. This will be different. Elian turned to Zarya. I need your ring too. Both artifacts together might create a stable connection. Zarya hesitated only briefly before handing him her ring. As Elian held both artifacts in his palms, they began to glow more intensely, their light intermingling. I'll be your anchor, Kaelyn said, taking his face in her hands. Focus on me if you get lost in there. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Elian knew with absolute certainty that what he felt for her was love. Not just desire or fascination with her alien nature, but a deep, soul-level connection that transcended species. He slipped Xander's crystal back on his right hand and placed Zarya's ring on his left. Immediately, energy surged through him, far more powerful than before, but somehow gentler, more controlled. His consciousness expanded, reaching across space to touch the waiting sphere. Through this connection, he saw it clearly for the first time. Not a weapon, as the sensors believed, but an instrument of creation of immense sophistication. The Precursors had designed it to heal worlds, to restore balance, to build ecosystems, to bridge the gaps between different forms of life. And it had chosen Xander's heir, chosen humans, because of their unique capacity for both destruction and creation, for both logic and emotion. The perfect mediators between extremes. Understand now, Elian whispered, his voice resonating strangely. I know what to do. As the pursuing ships closed in, weapons charging, Elian channeled his will through the crystals. Ahead of them, at their destination, something massive began to stir. The sphere, a structure the size of a small moon, dormant for millennia beneath the surface of the Kitar lunar lake, rose from its resting place, not with violence or catastrophe, but with gentle purpose. Water cascaded from its gleaming surfaces as it emerged into the light of the triple moons. Through Elian's connection, the sphere extended its influence. The pursuing ships suddenly found themselves unable to fire, their weapon systems reconfiguring against their operators' commands. The sensor vessels attempted to retreat only to be held in place by invisible forces. It's not hurting them, Elian explained, seeing the alarm on Kaelyn and Zarya's faces. It's showing them the truth about what it is, what it's for. The Void Swimmer approached the massive structure, a complex geometric form composed of the same dark, reflective material as the Echo Beacon. At its center, an opening appeared, inviting them in. It wants us to dock, Elian said. Zarya guided their ship into the sphere's embrace. As they disembarked into its interior, a vast chamber bathed in soft, pulsing light, Elian felt the connection between himself and the sphere strengthen further. At the center of the chamber stood a simple pedestal with two circular depressions. The crystals, Kaelyn realized. They belonged there. Elian nodded, moving toward the pedestal. This is what Xander discovered. Not just the sphere, but its purpose. The sensors wanted it as a weapon, but he understood its true nature. A tool for unity, for healing the divisions between species. That's why he gave one crystal to me, and the other to me, Zarya said softly. He knew someday they would need to be reunited. By us, Elian added, or our children. He looked at Kaelyn, who stood watching him with eyes bright with understanding. In that moment, despite the dangers still surrounding them, despite the uncertainty of what would happen next, he felt a perfect clarity. I love you, he said simply. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy, but it's neither, she interrupted, moving to his side. Kitar believed that souls recognize each other instantly. Time is irrelevant to true connection. Elian smiled, taking her hand. Then, let's finish what our parents started. Together, they removed the artifacts. Elian placed Xander's crystal in one depression, while Kaelyn, taking Zaria's ring, placed the second artifact in its matching hollow. The effect was immediate and breathtaking. The crystals melded with the pedestal, their light expanding outward in concentric waves that filled the chamber and beyond. Through his connection, Elian could feel the sphere broadcasting a message of peace and unity to all nearby worlds, including the pursuing ships. The sensors and their allies, faced with the undeniable truth of the sphere's purpose, found their centuries of dogma crumbling. This was not a weapon to be controlled or destroyed, but a gift to be shared. As the light subsided, Elian felt the neural connection gently release. The crystals remained embedded in the pedestal, their purpose fulfilled. But something of their energy had transferred permanently to him, a heightened awareness, a deeper connection to both human and Ketar perspectives. "It's done," he said, turning to Kaelyn and Zaria. "The sphere is fully awakened. It will remain here, open to all species, a neutral ground for cooperation and healing." Zaria's eyes shimmered with tears. "Xander would be so proud of you." Outside, the pursuing ships were dispersing, their weapons powered down. The immediate danger had passed, but Elian knew the journey was just beginning. The galaxy would need time to adjust to the sphere's presence, to understand its potential. "What happens now?" Kaelyn asked, her hand finding his. Elian smiled, pulling her close. "Now we build something new, together." 6 months later, Elian stood on the balcony of the new diplomatic center, built on the shores of the Ketar lunar lake, in sight of the Akasha Sphere that now served as a hub for interspecies cooperation and scientific discovery. Behind him, the sounds of celebration filtered through open doors. The official union ceremony of a human man and a Ketar woman, attended by representatives from a dozen worlds. Kaelyn joined him on the balcony, resplendent in traditional ceremonial attire that complemented her copper skin and elegant lines. Around her neck hung a pendant containing a tiny fragment of Elian's original info crystal, matched by a similar pendant around his own neck containing a piece of Zaria's ring. "Second thoughts?" she teased, slipping her arm around his waist. "Only about the guest list," he replied, nodding toward the censor delegation inside. "Never thought I'd be serving drinks to the people who try to kill us. Former enemies make the strongest allies." Kaelyn quoted an old Ketar proverb. "Besides, they've renounced their old ways. The consulate is being reformed under new leadership." Elian turned to face her fully, still amazed by how his heart raced at the sight of her. Their relationship had only deepened in the months since the sphere's awakening, their physical and emotional connection transcending the differences between their species. "Your mother seems happy," he observed, glancing inside, where Zaria was engaged in animated conversation with Neros, who had adopted a humanoid form for the occasion. "She is," Kaelyn agreed. "She's finally found peace with Xander's memory, and she's rather enjoying her new role as chief diplomat to the sphere." Elian pulled Kaelyn closer, breathing in her unique, spicy scent. "And you? Any regrets about tying yourself to a simple, albeit highly enlightened, archaeologist?" Her laugh was like music. "Former archaeologist, current interspecies liaison, and artifact awakener. And no, not a single regret." As the triple moons rose over the lunar lake, casting their light on the sphere that had changed the course of galactic history, Elian reflected on the strange path that had led him here. It had begun with a simple question from his mentor about an ancient crystal and ended with the fulfillment of a love story decades in the making. It was not just Xander and Zaria's story, but his own, a testament to humanity's unique gift for building bridges across the stars.